Hello and welcome to Desert Island Who, a Doctor Who podcast in which people from the Doctor Who world take 8 stories from the TV show and assorted merchandise to a desert island. As always, I'm joined by Conrad.
Hello.
And this week's guest is Antoni Pearce.
Hello.
Now, before we get into our list, obviously we like to ask us a bit about, stuff they do in that Doctor Who fans could know them for, and what,
okay,
and sort of how they got into Doctor Who. So, do you want to tell us a bit about that?
How did I get into Doctor Who? Longley exhibition. I think that's quite the famous one. It's not there anymore. I remember going to see the Cybermen there and being, scared completely by them. As I was a 90s kid, I didn't really watch it because it was on the telly. I can't even remember watching the Paul McGann movie. So when I heard it was coming back on the telly in 2005, I thought I'd better watch it. And I fell in love with it then. What do? I write and animate sort of fan videos, still in production. I think I've aired a couple already, but I'm rebooting the series again now that I've found better software.
Right, so what kind of things go on in these videos?
Well, it's my own take on a 12th Doctor. It was written long before Matt Smith, decided he was leaving. I think it was just after his first season that I wrote it. So, it would have had Amy Pond at one point, and then they decided to leave. So I just thought, clean slate. Doctor with amnesia. I think Will even appeared as one of the aliens in the first episode.
Yes, I did.
Yeah. It's getting rewritten again. It'll still be a completely different Doctor. Just tell my own stories. Keep the history with it as well.
That sounds very interesting. So now we'll go into your list, and your first choice is the first episode of Doctor Who.
Yeah.
It is which hasn't been chosen before, which is surprising. I thought it would be chosen before this. Unearthly Child.
Why won't you help us?
I'm not hindering you. If you both want to make fools of yourselves, I suggest you do what you said you'd do. Go and find a policeman.
Yeah, it's the first ever episode. How can you not, It's the foundation for the whole 50 years of the show. It's, how can you not like it? I mean, I know they make all the jokes about all the old episodes and the sets and that, but story-wise, it's, it's one of the good ones.
Obviously, the first episode of is sort of set up a lot of things that we know and love in Doctor Who. Obviously, you've got the Doctor. First time you see the Doctor, but he's not like the Doctor we know today.
No.
He's a very different character. So, obviously, you didn't watch this at the time. You went back to watch it. Was it sort of a shock seeing the Doctor as a different kind of man as shown nowadays?
Well, I don't know. It's kind of like James Bond. The personality's kind of changed. I mean, it's a bit more radical than James Bond because Bond's the same guy. But yeah, it was quite fun to watch somebody else's take on it. I mean, when I first watched it in 2005, I was sort of aware that it was different actors playing him, but I didn't realise how they got around it until Christopher Eccleston went and regenerated.
Obviously, Unearthly Child is a very popular story because you see, obviously, the TARDIS, the Doctor for the first time.
Yeah.
But that's only the first part is only part of the episode. You've also got the story with the cavemen.
Yeah.
Yeah. I quite enjoy that. Not as much as the first part.
I don't think anyone enjoys the second one. Yeah.
It's. I've rewatched it a few times. I got it on DVD, and it's. I don't know. I still reckon it's better than Fearer, to be honest.
Yeah, it's a sort of two different parts, really. There's not. It could be separate stories, really. The caveman and in the introduction, the prequel. Because you've got a very different setting, and I suppose that is what drew a lot of people to Doctor Who, is that you see a sort of an ordinary junkyard, and then you can be transported away to
anywhere in time and space.
A distant, sort of barren landscape in the past, like in the next episode.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I think it certainly did a lot for TV back then, and a lot of other sci-fi shows have sort of been, born out of it.
Your next choice is also set on a barren, desolate planet. And it is Genesis of the Daleks.
When the time is right, we will emerge and take our rightful place as the supreme power of the universe!
Yeah, I mean, I think that's a lot of favourites to people who've been in Doctor Who and who watch it. I mean, it's the first time Davros appears, it's the first time Daleks, sort of get to learn about time travel. And, I suppose it's the start of the Time War as well, really.
And I'm not certain on this fact, so this could be wrong, but I think it might be the first time that you actually see a laser beam come out of the Dalek.
I'm
not certain of that.
But I'm not certain. I've only seen a couple of Dalek episodes in the first Doctor's run. I haven't really watched the second and third yet. I'm still trying to get my way through it. But yeah, quite possibly the first time you see a laser beam.
Obviously, this is a story which a lot of fans would say is one of the best. It is almost a cliche of Genesis of the Daleks, but I mean, it deserves that place as being a cliche, really.
Yeah. I mean, there's a lot of firsts in there. I mean, obviously, from the first three Doctors, Daleks already knew time travel, but I suppose this is just another origin story. I quite like origin stories.
When you first see the Daleks in this story, there is that sort of shock there of, seeing them first be created, but they aren't actually used so much in this story as if they were just in a normal story. It's Davros who's the focus. Do you think that aspect works well?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, considering Davros has never been mentioned before, you get to see the creator, and they should have focused it around him, really, since, everyone wanted to know how they were created, so this is how they were created. They only knew of a nuclear war, and this is how it started, I suppose.
Yeah. It's very much a big corner still of the Tom Baker era.
Yeah.
Do you think Davros is as effective when he returns in other stories like Destiny of the Daleks or, say, Stolen Earth? Do you think he's effective as in this story?
I've not seen the other ones, only Stolen Earth, and I think that was a just as good as a performance by the actor who played in, just as good as a story as Genesis. I'd have to go and watch the other Davros stories to sort of come back on that one, really.
Yeah, we've had people choose Genesis before, and a lot of them see it as sort of one of Davros' only good bits. Because, I mean, in Destiny of the Daleks especially, he was definitely nowhere near the quality as it was in Genesis, where it was a different actor.
Yeah.
And I do like Terry Malloy's Davros.
A lot of people say they like his Davros, and he does a lot of the Big Finish audios as well, I believe.
Yeah.
He's sort of become the quintessential Davros, because he's been in... he's the only Davros who's been in multiple stories, so...
Yeah, multiple classic stories.
But people still also look back at the original Michael Wisher Davros from this story as a benchmark. From one story that introduces major thing, Davros, to a story that reintroduced the show to a new audience, and it is Rose.
Don't tell anyone about this, because if you do, you'll get them killed. I'm the doctor, by the way. What's your name?
Rose.
Nice to meet you, Rose. Run for your life.
Yeah, well, it's the one that, hooked me in. It's the first ever full episode I watched, really. So I mean, if it wasn't for that, God knows, I think I would have been turned off by the end of the world.
Why do you think this is so much better than the end of the world? And what do you think it has over that?
Why is it better than End of the World? Well, there's a lot more mystery in this one, obviously, because people haven't seen the show for a good 16 years. People have never seen it before. It's just this man turns up halfway through, and why should you trust him and run with him? So yeah, I don't know. I just think it's a better story, really.
Yeah, I mean, this is Christopher Eccleston's first episode, but it's unlike most Doctor's first episode. It's not like a regeneration story. They're not.
No,
sort of,
he's fully formed as the Doctor.
He's not becoming the man we know. He already is. He
already is. Yeah. What strikes me about that episode, mind, is if he was on the Titanic and he was on some shore of an island. Yeah, the first time he looks in the mirror is Rose and comments on his ears. So.
Well, that's the magic of time travel, I suppose.
Yeah.
There is a theory that in the bit where he says before he comes back to Rose at the end, it says, "Did I mention it also travels in time?" In that short moment, he could have had many adventures that we haven't seen.
Yeah, that's quite possible, isn't it?
Yeah.
We'll put it down to that then.
What do you think of the Autons in this story? Because they're quite central to it.
Yeah, I don't know, I've gone back and watched a couple of other Auton stories, like the Spearhead from Space and the other one where the Master first appeared. Terror of the Autons, I think it is. I don't know, they work quite well. It was... for not seeing a show like that before, it was, I suppose, quite scary seeing plastic mannequins moving around. Thinking, anyone could actually dress up as a mannequin and scare the living daylights out of you.
And they don't. But the good thing about it is they don't layer it with backstory. Say, "Oh, this is the Autons. I've met them before." It's like, but then it just sort of. It's played like it could be a new monster.
Yeah.
If you have seen the previous ones of the Autons, then you're rewarded and you think, oh, these were the Autons, but it won't scare off new fans either.
No. Well, it didn't scare me off anyway.
Your next choice is the finale to Christopher Eccleston's first season, and it is also his regeneration story, Bad Wolf / Parting of the Ways.
Before I go, I just want to tell you you were fantastic. Absolutely fantastic. And you know what? So was I.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's the first regeneration I'd ever seen, so again, it's a lot of firsts, a lot of new things that I've picked out, for me as a fan on my list. I remember being quite hacked off because I didn't know what was going on. Is that the end of Doctor Who? I thought this was such a great show. Why are they cancelling it? And then David Tennant showed up, and I thought, okay, who the hell is he?
Obviously, you've got the return of the Daleks in this one.
Yeah, there is that. After seeing Dalek earlier on in the series, I thought that was a bloody good episode, and then you don't really get much mention of the Time War until the end of the series. So, it's just more mystery chucked in by Russell T Davies, and I just wanted to learn more about this Time War.
This sort of is the end of the Ninth Doctor's character arc, because he's sort of troubled from the Time War, and he's sort of regretful of his killing of, or well, as we know from Day of the Doctor, apparent killing of all of his species. And when he's sort of faced with a similar choice, when he's with the Delta Wave and he's got whether he's going to kill all the humans and also kill the Daleks, he decides not to.
Yeah, I think
he's been changed by Rose and finding like someone who can show him the hope in the universe again, I suppose.
Yeah, I suppose, was it Captain Jack or was it Doctor that made the calculation that some of the humans would survive, the delta wave would only hit half of it or something? There would be colonies out there, so it wasn't like completely destroying the planet. There was, there would have been some survivors if the Dalek, if he'd hit the delta wave, but
he wasn't prepared to kill all those people anyway.
Prepared to take the risk, I suppose.
This one, obviously, everyone focuses on the sort of parting of the ways Daleks aspect, but obviously in the first part it's very different. You've got the Satellite 5, or now the Game Station, as with all those parodies of game shows.
Yeah, I thought that was quite funny. It would have been quite nice to see a Ground Force one on there. I think it was mentioned.
Do you not think that could date the episode in future if people are looking back and those shows aren't popular? I mean, The Weakest Link's not on anymore, for instance.
No.
Do you think that could date the show if people are looking back in 20, 30 years' time?
I suppose they could. But they used to say that the show won't come back in 20 to 30 years' time because it hasn't been around for so long.
Yeah, well, who knows? Because I suppose it sort of shows... That's always the problem of being sort of contemporary and relevant. It's always going to, in the future, look like you're stuck in the past. But then again, shows are made for the here and now. They're not made necessarily for looking back in the future.
No, and then they get remade.
Now, your next choice is an episode where you see the time travel used a lot, as you also do in Bad Wolf and Parting of the Ways, and it is the girl in the fireplace.
Who the hell are you? I'm the Doctor, and I just snogged Madame de Pompadour.
Yeah, I don't know. That's like I was quite annoyed at Eccleston regenerating, but I think I actually cried watching Girl in the Fireplace. It's just, you kind of want Madame de Pompadour to go travelling with the Doctor, and she dies of, well, I suppose what normal age in that period. But it's like, he could have gone back in time, or he could have tried to save her. Because his TARDIS was working, but I don't know, he just didn't.
What do you think of the period setting of this story? Because unlike all your other stories, all your other choices rather, aside from An Unearthly Child, this is the only historical one. Is there a particular reason for that?
No, not really. I just thought the story itself was good. I think if it was set in modern day Earth, I think it would still feel the same. I don't think the period had anything to do with it. I think they just wanted a historical figure in a story, really.
What do you think of the Clockwork droids? Do you think they're an effective villain, and would you like to see them return?
Yeah, I'd like to see them return. I think they were quite scary with the masks on. That was another thing that, scared me a little bit at the age of 16.
You've got, with this one, the Doctor falls in love. And it's one of the first times you see that. And it's would have been quite controversial for some fans who don't like that aspect of the show. Fathers enjoy that.
Watching it, you kind of thought. I thought he's with Rose. What's going on here? Why is he in love with another woman? I thought he's with Rose, and I just thought, well, she's still got Mickey, so why not?
Yeah, it's shows how the Doctor can sort of fit in any time, I suppose, because he's sort of...
Yeah, I suppose.
Because you sort of think of him as a contemporary, sort of always living on contemporary Earth, and sort of, meeting people and becoming friends with people on contemporary Earth, because that's sort of what the usual pattern is, but this is someone from the past, but he's equally at home there.
Yeah.
But then again,
I think he's travelled about so much, he doesn't really have a home. He just, tries to fit in. The TARDIS is his home.
But obviously, in the end, the Doctor in this story gets separated from his TARDIS, which is...
He does, doesn't he? Yeah.
Sort of something that would sort of happen in a William Hartnell story. They always get separated from the TARDIS.
Well, there was always that fluid link don't work, or it's been abducted by Genghis Khan or something like that.
But, do you think sort of separating it from the TARDIS adds to sort of risk factor?
I suppose it does, really, because the TARDIS gets overused quite a bit. So is the sonic screwdriver nowadays. It's usually just a get-out clause if writers can't think of anything. And say, well, just get him out of here with the TARDIS. So I think it can make a story a hell of a lot better if he doesn't have all the gadgets to use.
Yeah, because, in some stories the TARDIS is just sort of his mode of transport to get him there.
Yeah.
But others it's sort of used as sort of a big part of the plot.
Well, yeah.
Your next choice also features robotic villains, and it also features the Doctor's love life, and it is Army of Ghosts / Doomsday.
The Doctor will open the Ark!
The Doctor will not.
You have no way of resisting!
Well, he got me there, although there is always this.
A sonic probe?
That screwdriver.
That's, I don't know, that was another sad one for me, really, because Billie Piper had grown on me, even though I didn't really listen to her music that much. So I think she was one of the reasons I started watching Doctor Who anyway. It was just kind of sad to see her leave. I thought, it would be quite nice to see her stay another season with David Tennant. And it was the first ever episode the Cybermen and Daleks had sort of come face to face, so it was another epic moment, I suppose.
Yeah, it was always sort of the battle everyone would talk about, like Cybermen versus Daleks, who would win, and we find out
and it happened, and
the Daleks easily, obviously.
Find out it's just pest control to the Daleks, right?
Yeah. Which I suppose would have disappointed a lot of fans who preferred the Cybermen.
Yeah.
But then again, for people who like the Daleks, it sort of shows how even... It's again a bit like Dalek, how when you sort of see it's only 4 Daleks at first, but even they could wipe... It says, when he says they could wipe out all the Cybermen with 1 Dalek, it sort of brings it back to that aspect they had in Series 1 in Dalek, where one Dalek's got so much power.
Just one Dalek, yeah.
And it could do anything really, let alone an army. And then you see the army later on in the Genesis arc, and it sort of shows how really it's one of the first. Is it the first alien invasion of Earth in the new series where sort of everyone sees it and knows about it? Other than
I suppose aliens to London, but that was put off as a hoax or something as well, wasn't it?
So this is the first one really where it's so obvious.
Yeah, but they still deny it after. I can't remember what they put it down to in the 3rd series. It was just called the Battle of Canary Wharf, and it wasn't talked about again.
You've got the aspect of people being turned into Cybermen in this one, where you see Yvonne from Torchwood and become a Cyberman, and see her as a Cyberman, still retaining some of her emotions. Do you think that was an effective moment?
Definitely. I mean, I don't know. It's just like the ultimate upgrade, really, isn't it? Nobody really wants to die. Nobody likes getting sick, but I don't know. At the same time, you get rid of all your emotions. So it's, as much as we all like to live longer, I couldn't live without emotion, I don't think.
It's the paradox of the Cybermen, isn't it?
Yeah.
And sort of in this one, you sort of see the Doctor lose a companion, but Rose was almost more than a companion, because she was kind of a love interest, and she was obviously the one who helped him heal after the Time War.
Yeah. It's just like losing a loved one, really.
Do you think the departure of Rose sort of in a parallel universe worked as well, or do you think there could have been something better, like if she'd actually been killed off?
I think parallel universe worked all right. I mean, the fact that she was still alive, you know, kind of the Doctor could just think, you know, well, I don't know, if somebody dies, that's kind of closure, really, in my eyes. If they're properly gone, then that's it, you can move on from it. But, you know, if they're still alive and out there somewhere, there's always that, you know, bugger, I could go and try and find her, or, you know. So it kind of, I don't know, I think it just chucks more emotion on the Doctor.
Now your next choice is another one where a companion departs, but in very different circumstances, and it is Utopia, Sound of Drums, and Last of the Time Lords, the Series 3 finale.
This country has been sick. This country needs healing. This country needs medicine.
In fact, I'd go so far as to say that what this country really needs right now is a doctor.
Martha
it was the first one. Yeah. I mean, I quite like Martha. I know a lot of people throughout Series 3 were like, you know, we still want Rose, and there was a lot of comments made about Rose and how Martha wasn't as good as her, and even the Doctor said himself at some point, you know, Rose would know what to do. I don't know what they were going for with that series. It's just the only reason I like the end of Series 3 was just the Master was coming back, and this was a Time Lord that I'd heard of, and after, you know, reading the history of the show, and after the Doctor had wiped out his own planet, there was another one of his own people, so it's another big moment in his life, I think.
What did you think about the two performances from Derek Jacobi and John Sims as the Master?
I love them both. I would have liked to have seen, you know, Derek Jacobi stay on a screen a bit more, but that's only my own personal preference. I think it was just perfect the way it played out.
Did you also like the way that the Saxon arc was tied up?
Yeah, because I mean, Torchwood came out sort of before Series 3, and there was a lot of Vote Saxon pictures. Although it wasn't touched upon so heavily in Torchwood, there were a lot of Saxon this, Saxon that, and I think that was the first, you know, major arc, really. I know there was the whole Bad Wolf one in Series 1, and it was referenced a few times, but I think they went heavier on it on Series 3. You had a lot of things happening, you know, Martha's parents being taken to one side after the Lazarus episode, trying to be warned about Doctor, and he's like public enemy and all that.
Yeah, because this is another story where the whole world is sort of destroyed, and sort of a big epic, sort of, some would say, over the top finale where everyone's subjugated, and then at the end, sort of, the reset button is hit, and, you know, the Doctor saves the day. Do you think that's sort of an effective way of doing a finale?
To be honest, that's the only thing I didn't like about it, really. Is the fact that you just hit the reset button and that was that. It worked well in the Big Bang, but I don't know. I think a lot of people could have remembered it, and, you know, another story could have spanned off of that.
The thing about this one is the Doctor is aged to an old man.
Yeah.
So it's got that. The Doctor is weak for a lot of it. He's not the hero we know, and that's the different aspect.
Yeah, it's all focused on Martha on this one, really, isn't it?
Yeah.
Do you think that works well? that it's focused more on Martha than the Doctor?
I think it worked quite well, considering she was only going to stay for one season anyway, so, why not turn her into the hero for this last one outing? Well, she came back for Series 4, but it wasn't. It was only sort of a small role then. Yeah, you can't always be a hero. Somebody else has to step up and do the job at some point, so...
And moving from one story that features the Master to your last choice, which also features the return of the Master, and it's David Tennant's finale. It's his regeneration story. It's the end of time.
I don't want to go.
There's so much happened in that one. It was the return of the Time Lords. Are they coming back for good? Are we going to see the Doctor visiting Gallifrey? The Master had come back. There was always theories of that after he dropped, the ring had dropped off when he was cremated. And it was David Tennant's last episode. I think Tennant's my favourite Doctor. I haven't seen Capaldi yet, but I think Capaldi's just shot up to second place without seeing him. It was just a proper emotional episode, and at the end getting to say goodbye to his companions, and the whole time travel lottery ticket thing with Donna's dad. Of course, the actor who played him died the previous year, so that was quite a sad thing for diehard fans,
I'm not the biggest fan of this story.
No.
Mainly because of the way that it sort of pans out. I think it does set itself up well in the first episode, but I think it sort of loses a bit of the emphasis and the sort of drive in the second episode, and it sort of deteriorates a bit.
I think it tries to do too much.
Yeah, it does. It does try. I mean, there are nice bits in there, but I do think it tries to do a bit too much. And I wasn't that keen on the way that David Tennant departed. I think it might have been a bit stronger.
Yeah, I didn't like the whole radiation thing. I thought that was pretty lame. I wanted the Master to kill him, really, but the fact that it was Wilf that knocked the 4 times when everybody thought it would be the Master, I thought that was quite a big moment as well. I don't really know how we could have killed him off. That would have. I don't know. I might have to write a story on that.
I'm not so bothered about sort of the way he was killed off, but I think the way he acted when he knew he was going to die, like he said, I could do so much more. It's not fair. And I don't want to go.
It was completely different for David Tennant. That was, I don't know. That it was that moment, and then a moment in Waters of Mars, which made me go, "Oh, this isn't like the Doctor." The whole Time Lord Victorious thing. I suppose he's just trying to hold on to his life, really. He's become attached to his personality.
As we know, now, obviously it wasn't known then, because Moffat hadn't written it, but that would have been the last time the Doctor would have regenerated, as far as he knew.
Yeah.
Which might explain a little more.
I mean, because, the whole War Doctor thing, so it would have been...
on there, but...
Yeah.
One of the most unpopular things about this story, I'd say, amongst fans, is the everyone in the world turns into the Master bit.
Yeah.
Did you like that bit, or...?
Not really. There was no point to it, really. I suppose, what did they use it for? So they could find the signal of the drums, and I don't know. It seemed pretty pointless.
It was one of the silliest moments in Doctor Who history.
Yeah. I think they could have saved a lot of budget by not doing that and spent more on the dogfights.
Yeah.
But of course, this was like David Tennant's last episode, so is that why it sort of holds a sort of a special sentimental place with it, because he's your favourite Doctor and it was his
definitely it was
you got that great moment with him and Wilf in the cafe in episode 1 where he's talking about how he knows he's going to die.
Yeah, and there's another man coming in. I suppose that's how every fan feels whenever they become attached to a Doctor. It's like, I'm going to hate the new guy. I know a lot of friends of mine who haven't watched it since David Tennant left, but I'm optimistic. I'll give the new guy a chance, and I came to quite like Matt Smith very much as well. So, you know, it's a sort of toss-up between all the new Doctors as my favourites.
Now, your book choice also features the 10th Doctor. It was a Series 4 novel.
Yeah.
And it was it's the Doctor Trap.
Yeah, I can't, you know, it's been ages since I've read it, but I just remember it being. I'd read a lot of the Christopher Eccleston ones, and I think I read Beautiful Chaos as well. It was just completely different. Like he was being hunted rather than him going out finding new adventures. There was someone after him, like I don't know. I can't really explain it that much, but yeah, it was different to read. You know, the Doctor being hunted for a trophy.
It sort of brings in that sort of big game 1920s sort of hunter type sort of cliche, or that sort of makes it in. Now it's in space, and the Doctor's the one hunted, because he would be as the last of the Time Lords.
Yeah, he's made such a big name for himself. You
Exactly.
know, he must have some
be.
kind of
Bounty on his head.
Yeah, some kind of bounty on his head.
It would be a
some
good
kind
one
of-
to adapt for TV, I'd have thought, because I think it would make a effective. It's a very strong idea that I'm surprised it took them until a 10th Doctor novel to do, because it's, you know, very unique.
Yeah, I mean, there's definitely a lot of stories out there that could be adapted for TV. But yeah, I might have to give the book a read again, really, because it was quite a good book.
And your other choice to take with you is along the theme of David Tennant again. It's a David Tennant action figure.
I know. Yeah, he's definitely my favourite Doctor, isn't he? I don't know where it is at the minute. I think it's at the bottom of my kid's toy box. So that's my excuse anyway. It's the only reason I play with my kids. I'm joking. Yeah, I don't even know where I got it from. It was a car boot sale, and it's like 50p, and I thought, yeah, okay, I'll have that. And I got a TARDIS as well. But yeah, I think I had the action figures stood up on my chest of drawers for quite a while throughout Tennant's reign. And yeah, I don't know why. It's just like a little trophy, I suppose. I think
They've definitely released their fair share of David Tennant action figures. I think every single possible variation.
I think I had the 3D glasses ones as well. One without the long coat, one with the long coat.
Which one would you choose to take to the island? What different version of David would you choose?
Which one? Well, the one I've got now, preferably less scratched, just in his brown suit and long overcoat. 3D glasses just looked silly, and it was only a one-off. But yeah, I mean, you can't have, you know, the costume incomplete without the long coat, so why bother having just a suited version?
Yeah, I mean, I have a lot of the 10th Doctor action figures, because when I was sort of getting all the action figures, it was the main bulk of the releases when Character Options were releasing most of the figures wasn't the David Tennant. So I think there's more of him than there are other Doctors. But I think that although the figure's not exactly the best out of, you know, it's not got the full articulation that you'd get on a later figure, it's still it's still just it works as David. You can clearly see it's David Tennant, and it just, you know, it's got that sentimental
I think the
value.
ones from the Tennant era look more like, you know, the actors who play them than the later ones. I think they've released pictures of some of the Peter Capaldi ones, and they don't look anything like him.
Yeah. They've also started releasing They've released a David Tennant figure in the new smaller scale as well. So
yeah, I think that was on the same picture. It was a lot smaller. I don't know why they're doing that. Is that just to save costs or what?
Yeah, basically. But I think that I'm fairly sure that the first action figure I got was the David Tennant in the brown suit and long overcoat. So I have a similar sort of sentimental value for it.
Yeah.
So
I don't really see many Eccleston ones on the market now. You can still pick up a load of Tennant ones though.
No. I mean, the Eccleston figure is good, but it was sort of... They didn't release as many of them, because I mean, the first one was like it's stuck
Disco
in one
dancing.
pose, in a disco dancing pose, so it's not...
Yeah.
And then when they released a normal pose Eccleston, it was already well into David Tennant's era, so he was sort of old news, I suppose.
No point in buying it, yeah.
So, I think that about wraps it up. Thank you everyone for listening to this very David Tennant themed episode. Maybe we'll get David Tennant on sometime.
Yeah, maybe.
I doubt it, but who knows?
Yeah.
So, I've been Conrad. With me as always is Will. And our guest, Antoni Pearce. If anyone wants to check out those videos that you mentioned, how would...
I did have a blog and there's a YouTube page somewhere. I'll have to email the links to you guys and maybe you can... Or we'll put it out on a Twitter page.
Yeah.
So anyone who can follow my Twitter is at Antoni_Pearce. And there'll be links on there at some point. Because I don't mind if anyone watches the first 3 that are out there already, but to be honest, the visuals and the sounds, it's just a learning curve. So they can watch that and then watch the remake, so to speak.
So thank you everyone for listening, and we won't see you, but you will hear us in the next episode. Goodbye.
Bye.